Okay, everyone, DSP here, and welcome back to the top 20 best playthroughs of 2024 countdown. We already got through number 20 all the way through number 10. So now we're in the big finale, the top 9 best of the year. Do this. All right. Here we are, Night Springs. No, sorry, that was the last one. I just forgot to unclick it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the number 9 best playthrough 2024 is Yoshimitsu versus Yoshimitsu. That's right, Tekken 8. Tekken 8 arguably was the only good new fighting game of 2024. I think honestly it really was, because even though other games came out like Multiversus and the like, I really consider 2D fighting to be the epitome of fighting games. And this game was a really good game. Great graphics on the PlayStation 5, very responsive controls. In fact, I even admitted playing this game online, I felt like Tekken 8 was far more responsive than even Street Fighter 6 was. I really feel that way. Like Street Fighter 6 had this kind of like a little bit of installed delay in the way that it played, while in Tekken 8, you could immediately try to get that hit in, and it would lead to a big combo or a juggle or whatever. It just felt better. Now here's the thing. As you know, I grew up playing Street Fighter. I did play Tekken, but just not nearly to the level that I played Street Fighter. And so when I try to pick a fighting game that I'm going to play, I try to pick something that maybe I'll have a little bit more history with. And I do have history with Tekken 8. Don't get me wrong. I do. Like all the Tekken games I've played over the years as a YouTuber, I played them before that, back in the day in arcades. 1, 2, and 3 were all games that I played at kind of a fun level. I even won a tournament in Tekken 3 one day, back in the day. But I haven't actively tried to be competitive in Tekken pretty much ever. This was the case with Tekken 8. This was really the first case where I actively tried to get good at Tekken as a fighting game. And I played it for roughly about a month and a half to 2 months. And in that time frame, I got Yoshimitsu up to a really high rank, well, actually way higher than you're even seeing here in this match. Like I got him up to a pretty darn high ranking. And a lot of people were interested in seeing how high I could go. But the thing was, ultimately, I had to kind of give up on it. And here's the reason why. Everyone knows that kind of the big staple fighting game franchise that I play is Street Fighter. And after having played Tekken 8 for about 2 months, I hadn't played Street Fighter at all. And people were kind of starting to crave it again and say, really, we would like to see you play more Street Fighter. And I was like, well, I can't play 2 competitive fighting games at once. And I hope you understand why. They're completely different. They're not even similar, right? When it comes to fighting game mechanics and the like. And it's just going to take a lot of practice to even stay at any kind of a level for either one of these games. So if you tell me you want to see me play Tekken 8 at any kind of a competitive level, well, then I sadly cannot focus on Street Fighter at the same time. It's got to be one or the other. And so after having this conversation, after having played this for, say, 2 months, people ultimately decided they wanted to see me go back to Street Fighter. But take a look. I was doing well. I was getting great combos, juggles. I was really mastering the game at the level that I was playing. In fact, the only reason that I really gave it up was very simple. In order to get any better, I kind of hit the wall with Tekken 8. I would have had to consistently play it all the time and even more. All right. I would have had to play Tekken 8 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week to actually get better than the level that I had already reached. And I just wasn't willing to put in that level of commitment because I'm a variety content creator. But I want you to understand this game has amazing amounts of content. It's got a lengthy, very interesting story mode with various different kinds of gameplay and mini games in it. It's got amazing graphics. It's got a wide cast of characters. It's got a lot of content and fun things to do in it, including the virtual mode where you pretend to be an arcade player traveling around the world to enter Tekken tournaments and the like. The first of its kind. Never seen that in any kind of a fighting game, notably a Tekken game. So really well executed, really well done. Great content, great game, great value for your dollar. Strongly recommend it if you haven't checked out Tekken 8 yet. It's a great game. But sadly, I just don't have time to play 2 games at a good level. So that's why I never went back to it. Okay, but Tekken 8, great fighting game. Really enjoyed playing it when I did. Okay, that's right. The try-hard wall. The people who are just playing one fighting game only, focusing in on it, I'm never going to beat those players when I'm trying to take my time among various different games or trying to go back and forth between Street Fighter and Tekken. It ain't going to happen. I would have to focus solely on Tekken to do any better. So there you go. Okay. Continuing on. The number 8 best playthrough of 2024 is Balatro. That's right. A game that I've only just recently started playing near the very end of December. It's a game that I didn't even know existed, but got nominated for Game of the Year. And when it did, I got interested in it. And I said, man, I want to check this game out, and I want to see what it's all about. And let me tell you, I know how to play poker. I played 5-card stud, Texas Hold'em, and other variations of poker over the course of my life. And so when this game, I heard it was all about poker, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of right up my alley. So let's give it a look. And let me tell you, I've only done maybe 3 streams of the game, but every single time that I've played it, I've had a great time. I absolutely love that in this game, you could start with different starter decks that create variables that make the game feel different. I like how even though you're good at the game, you may have a bad run because it is a roguelike. If you're not aware, Balatro is a roguelike game where basically you are trying to earn points by playing poker hands, but you have to earn a certain amount of points within a certain amount of hands or else you fail and then your run has to start completely over from scratch. Now, there's joker cards that you can get that will give you added variables, such as multiply my score by a certain number if I have a club in my hand, or if I played a diamond or something like that. So there's many different variations and ways that you can play the game. I've had tons of fun. In fact, I've actually beaten the game twice, but each time you beat it, you unlock more content and more great stuff to make you want to go back. It's incredibly addictive. Even if you win, you want to go back and play again with a different deck, with a different play style, try different jokers to see if you can win in another creative or interesting different way. So very, very addictive game. But here's the thing, honestly, if you're not a fan of poker or you've never played poker before, I don't think this would actually be a very good game. Just being honest, I actually feel like it would be a disappointing game because it really is just poker, poker, and more poker. You need to love poker to understand and like Balatro. So if you're not into cards or poker particularly, this is probably going to be a skip for you and you're not going to care about it. But if you do happen to be into poker or you know, competitive card play and stuff like that, you'll probably end up really liking it. It's funny because I said I never heard of the game, but it got nominated for Game of the Year, so I would try it. And then when I tried it, I was like, wow, this is incredibly good. I kind of get it now. I just wish that a game like this maybe had gotten more notoriety before it got nominated for Game of the Year, because I didn't know anything about it. And I feel like if it hadn't gotten nominated, I never would have played it and I never would have enjoyed it. Yeah, by the way, it's got a very chill soundtrack, despite the fact that it's trying to go for an 8-bit visual style or whatever. The soundtrack is very relaxing and fun and chill, and the game is great, and you can just sit there and meld with it and have a good time and have a good stream. The Balatro streams have been some great opportunity to interact with you guys, which I very much enjoy. So, Balatro stuff, I've only done a few streams of it, but I've really enjoyed it. I will be playing it more in the future. Definitely one of my favorite playthroughs of last year. Okay. Whew. Continuing on. This is hard to do, to just talk constantly for hours on end without a break, let me tell you. My number 7 best playthrough of 2024 is, I almost said Super Mario. Wow. Astrobot on the PlayStation 5 Pro particularly. Astrobot is an incredibly well-designed, well-polished, ingenious, gorgeous, well-performing, fun-to-play, innovative, chill style platformer. It's all of those things at the same time. It really is. Look at this. You're Parappa the Rapper Bot beating up a giant robot beetle, bouncing off of the beetle to get a puzzle piece, using jet boots to hover over to a open sunflower. The game itself is just so well done. Okay, I like the fact that number one, the game ties in so many different Sony properties into one game. It really feels like a crazy dream style game where Kratos could be in the same realm as characters from The Last of Us, which could be in the same realm as characters from The Last Guardian, right? It's pretty wild to think about that. I also like the fact that it's not openly cutesy. Some platformers, sadly, you look at a Kirby game or whatever, and it has that stigma that, oh, this is just a kid's game. I don't necessarily feel that playing Astro Bot, although sadly a lot of people do still feel like it has that stigma. I don't believe that. I actually think that Astro Bot is a good game for all audiences, for all ages. It also has a great amount of content. Has about roughly anywhere between 15 to 20 hours of content for a platformer. That's a great amount of content, honestly. I like the variety in the levels and the way that they're designed. For example, each level feels completely self-contained as a different world. Some are themed during different cultural things. Some are nautical, some are in the sky, some are underground, some is futuristic, some feels more like ancient. I like how there's so many different Sony properties. Here's Jumping Flash being represented in the game. And not only is it challenging stages based on, platforming skill, but also there's these optional puzzles and things to explore in the hub world as well. More platforming, more challenges, unlock more characters, more customizables. The game just has a ton of content. And then even if you want the ultimate challenge, it's got that too. It's got these ultra difficult Sony symbol stages that really put your platforming skills to the test. Yes, they made me rage during the playthrough, but at the same time, I overcame and I beat all of the challenging content of the game. The only thing that I didn't do was all the collectathon stuff, because there's a few random odds and ends collectathon things that you can get that I didn't. But I literally beat every stage in it, including all the hardest challenge stages. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it, all right? Now, it's high up on my list. It's number 7. But you're like, well, wait, it's not Game of the Year? No, not for me. You want to know why? Because here's the truth. This game is great. So was Super Mario Wonder last year. I would actually say they're probably about on par when it comes to Mario versus Sony, Nintendo versus Sony properties. They're about equivalent. I liked Mario Wonder just about as much as I liked Astro Bot. They're great games in their own right. But did I say that Mario Wonder was my favorite game of last year? No. In reality, I feel that the reason that Astro Bot won Game of the Year at the Game Awards is simply put because 2024 was an incredibly underwhelming, underperforming year for games. There were tons of games that you thought would absolutely be world-changing, game-changing AAA releases, and they mostly sucked. And so in a year when everything else is worse, a game that's good likely is going to be considered great because there's nothing else to compete with. And I honestly think that's really what happened, is that this game didn't have much competition, and it was a very fine game. Best in class, right? What's the best platformer of 2024? Astro Bot. Well, then it's just Game of the Year. Well, no, not really. I don't believe that. But I think a lot of games journalists thought that way, okay? In a year of disappointments, a year of underwhelming releases, this one lived up to the hype and expectation. So because of that, by default, it wins Game of the Year. For me, it's a fine game. It's fun, good concepts, original content, great graphics, great controls. Overall, a little bit something for everyone, very enjoyable, and a good value for the dollar. But for me, it's just not innovative enough or didn't blow me away enough to be Game of the Year. Okay? Cool. Slayer says, do you think this game deserved to be awarded the Game of the Year by the Game Awards? So, like I said, I think I know I did, but I don't agree. I know why I did because, again, a game that had hype behind it but didn't suck, as opposed to a lot of other games that had hype behind them but did end up sucking or were underwhelming. This one didn't. So just by default, de facto, it's Game of the Year. I don't agree with that mentality, though. I really don't. Okay. And again, the other point that I made, Super Mario Wonder was just as good as Astro Bot. Why was Mario Wonder not a serious contender for Game of the Year last year, but Astro Bot won? Doesn't seem to make sense, does it? Okay. I have received a contribution, which I'd like to shout out. A $10 tip from Yorichi, who says, I am enjoying your countdown. Thank you to Yorichi for a $10 tip tonight. I really appreciate that. As you guys can see, been a pretty rough and slow night for any kind of contributions towards my content. So Appreciate that, Yurichi. Let's get you up on the leaderboard. And I will take the moment to say, hey, everyone, if you are enjoying this countdown and the effort that I put into it, if you could please support the stream tonight, I would very much appreciate that. Okay. So we are at $33 of support. Guys, let's keep it rolling. Let's get that momentum going, please, and support the top best playthroughs of 2024. All right? Okay. Retro Danny says, I love Tekken. Fun fact, my first Tekken was Tekken 4. That game reminds me of childhood wowzers. What was your first Tekken? Tekken 1. I played Tekken 1 on release day when it hit American arcades in the 90s. Let me tell you, they didn't look too great back then, just being honest. They were pretty rough around the edges with how they looked. Very, very blocky stuff. Okay. Continuing on. Let's keep going, folks. My pick for number 6 best playthrough of the year is Indy. Dr. Jones, you're in the top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That is right. I really like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it. Quite frankly, when this game was announced and all we saw was this first-person combat, it left a lot to be desired, and people were wondering, would it be any good? Well, I'm happy to report the game is good. It's got fun platforming. It's got interesting puzzles. It's got a great story with some great lore. And of course, you get to play as Indiana Jones. You get to whip the living shit out of a bunch of fascists and Nazis. You get to punch them with your fist, and it goes whoopsh, whoopsh, just like the movies. It's very well executed. Now, it's certainly not perfect. The physics are a little wonky. And I would say one of its biggest strengths is also one of its biggest weaknesses. What do I mean by that? Well, several times during the course of the game, there are open world segments where you can wander around and you're free to explore and find content. Now, sometimes you'll stumble upon someone who has a mission for you, or you'll stumble upon a puzzle you can solve and get a rare collectible that then gives you experience points so you can level up. But sometimes you just end up going in circles, okay? You do. You just end up kind of like going in circles and not knowing what the hell is going on because you don't know where you're supposed to go. Sometimes the map will say to go one way, you go there, you're kind of confused. Did I go to the right spot? So it's definitely not perfect, okay? But it's a great game. It is. It absolutely is a great game. It's fun to be Indiana Jones. It's fun to have a clone of you next to you. Hold on. It's starting to bother me. Okay. That's better. It's fun to be Indiana Jones. It's fun to be able to be in the shoes of a legendary hero. It really is. I really am enjoying this game a lot. And I'm not done with it yet. I'm more than halfway through it at this point. And the more I play it, the more it grows on me. If anything, I will say this. I think it's a little confusing. And the reason I say that, when the game starts, the first area, you end up in an open world area and you think, oh, is this the whole game? Well, it's not. The game actually has lots of different locations. The game even has narrative-based areas that are very linear, where you're just going to be doing platforming, combat, and kind of big set pieces, on-rail shooting parts, and then you go back to another area, and then you end up eventually in another open-world area. But the game's not very clear at explaining that. So when I first got to the first area of the game called the Vatican, I thought that was the whole game. And I was like, oh, maybe I should take my time doing this and that. But in reality, the game is long and has a lot of content to explore. It's not just one area. You feel like Indiana Jones playing the game. You're whipping, you're swinging, you're beating Nazis up, you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And Troy Baker does an absolutely great job voice acting Indy. You can tell that he studied the movies. He studied Harrison Ford's tone and inflections in his voice. And I feel like he nails the character. He sounds very close to Harrison Ford. So kudos to Troy Baker for his voice acting in this game. But I'm having an absolutely great time with it. If you like a game such as Dishonored, which is first-person open-world exploration, looting, and puzzles, and you don't care about having magical powers, but you want to whip the shit out of someone, you should play Indiana Jones. Now, sadly, this game came out in December. And what happens with games that come out in December? They get forgotten or overlooked because most people already have played what they wanted to play or bought what they were going to get for Christmas. And this game likely did not get the attention that it deserves. It's actually an outstanding game. And if it had come out earlier in the year, I guarantee you this would have been a Game of the Year contender at the Game Awards. But it came out late, and because of that, they said, oh, it missed the cutoff. It can't be nominated. So now I guarantee you next year, no one's going to remember Indiana Jones, and that's unfortunate. That's just a major flaw with the way the Game Awards are. They shouldn't have the nomination cutoffs end in November. That is absolutely preposterous. They should be going through December to the end of the year. Anything that comes out in the year should be eligible as Game of the Year for that year. I'm kind of upset with the way that Jeff Keighley does the Game Awards because I feel it's completely unfair and that this game should get more attention and more nominations. But a lot of people are just kind of glossing over it, pretending like it doesn't exist. It's a great game. Do not sleep on Indy. All righty. Continuing on. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're doing it. Now we're getting into the big ones. It's time for the top 5. And so, my number 5 best playthrough of 2024 is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, after a couple of years of duds, of multiplayer experiences that did not live up to the hype, I feel that Black Ops 6 is a return to form for Call of Duty. Now, I want you to understand something. The game still has bad spawns. The game still has netcode that is bereft of skill-based matchmaking where they will throw you into a match with a bunch of people with worse connections, and all of a sudden, you can't have your bullets register properly, but theirs do. The game still suffers from all of these problems. But Black Ops 6 plays so much better than either of the previous Modern Warfare iterations that it definitely deserves notoriety and it deserves respect because it is a great game that feels like Call of Duty again. Now, there is some silliness. There is some nonsense. It's not perfect. But I'm having more fun with Black Ops 6 than I have had with Call of Duty in many, many years. I mean, I've been playing it now for, 2-3 months straight, and I'm still playing it, and I'm not bored. By the way, adopting keyboard and mouse to play it has really, really improved and up my experience with the game. I know that for pad players, it's still good, but I gotta say keyboard and mouse is the way to go. I'm so happy that I now have a keyboard and mouse set up to play the game on because I'm doing so much better. Like literally, I'm doing better and better. Every time I play, I'm upping my game and performing even better because keyboard and mouse is that much better than controller. So, I'm having a great time. I mean, I would be doing the game a disservice if I didn't mention how much content it has. Personally, I don't like the single-player campaign, but it has a decent-length single-player campaign. I played Zombies co-op, and I loved it. I had a great time with the Zombies co-op in Black Ops 6. It's just sad I never had a chance to go back and play it again, but for the couple of hours I played it, I had an amazingly fun time with it. Warzone, I played it like once. I thought it was fun. It's just that people, I think, are enjoying watching me play the standard multiplayer way more than Warzone. So there is potential that maybe I would go back to the Battle Royale at some point, but the multiplayer is good enough. The multiplayer holds interest. The multiplayer keeps me excited and engaged and keeps you guys having a great time watching me either shoot people up or rage when I mess up. So it's just been a great time. I'm really enjoying the game. I legit can't wait to play more. Look at that. My God. Grenade to the face, kill, epic, right? Absolutely epic. I literally can't wait to play more. I wish I could play more right now, but I got to finish this countdown. Anyway, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, great multiplayer game. Really, really enjoyed it. Please tune into my streams moving forward as I keep playing it. I'm having so much fun. I can't wait for more. All right. Very nice. Continuing on. The number 4 best playthrough of 2024 is Another Crab's Treasure. That is right. Out of all the Souls-likes that came out in 2024, this game ended up shocking me with how good it was. First of all, it ran absolutely beautifully on the Xbox Series X. As you can see here, beautiful frame rate, great graphics. The fact that they took the Souls-like formula and they put it into an underwater kingdom where things such as bottle caps or cans or seashells became critical parts of your armor set or your weapons. The fact that you had undersea creatures being giant big bosses and having the same elements as bonfires and, having ultra difficult enemies, with super high defense and a stun meter and a parry system and all those things that you've come to like from Souls-like games actually be an active part of this game made it so awesome. The fact that the game was so long. The game was over 20 hours long with a ton of content. Just when you think it's over, no, it continues. There's more going. Secret bosses, epic fights, really, really tough battles, but at the same time, a rewarding system that wants you to keep going. And you can play the game in different ways, depending on what weapon or what armor you've equipped. You could go for fully offensive combos and overwhelming tactics. You could go for a more defensive stance where you have a lot more armor on. You can block or counter or parry more before you counterattack. You go for ranged tactics because there's certain builds where you can actually shoot things. So there's a lot of ways to play the game and make it feel different depending on how exactly you want to focus on it and you want to play it for yourself. I love that about the game. It's not just a one-go experience like, say, Sekiro, where almost everyone's playthrough ends up kind of feeling the same. In this game, there is so much to do and so many different ways to do it. I will say this. The cutesy charm of the game is great, but it does have a few flaws. As you can see right here, because this is made by a smaller studio, there are a few bugs and a few annoyances that happened during my playthrough that maybe wouldn't have necessarily happened if this game had really been made by FromSoft. I happen to highlight one of them here in this clip that I made where I got stuck in a wall. Ultimately, I think I did get out of this wall. I think it took me over 5 minutes, but I actually did get out of the wall. All right? But you can expect that there will be some wonkiness and silliness to the game as a result. But at the same time, man, is the game fun. And I hope that you will give it a look. If you haven't yet, by the way, it's on Game Pass. This is one of the best games of the year. Original, fun, creative, and it's on Game Pass. How could you possibly go wrong? So, do not pass on Another Crab's Treasure if you're interested in Souls-like games and you want to see a unique one and a fun one. This is one that very well may have gone right off your radar. You might have missed it. Definitely don't pass it by. Check it out. You're going to love it. It's really unique and fun and well-made. And oh no, that's a shame. But you see, it's that kind of game where you want to keep trying to do stuff. You want to keep going for that jump. You want to keep exploring. You want to see if you can get that new thing, that new hidden item that may be over there or whatever. It really opens itself up to open world exploration and fun in that regard. And it's one of the major reasons I really liked it. So, Another Crab's Treasure. Great Souls-like attempt, underwater kingdom style, very unique art structure, great combat, great elements, even a unique and interesting story, if you can believe it. Well executed. Definitely give it a look. Okay. I'm even being told by DJ Sonic Swag that it actually got a New Game Plus update that made it even better. Suffice it to say, in a year when a hermit crab is one of the most compelling characters in gaming, it was probably a slow year. I'm just saying. I'm nothing against this game, but man, to see that the style of games that I'm saying were some of the best playthroughs of the year, I think this is very representative of the year that we had last year. You understand? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The top 3 best playthroughs of the year. What games will make the cut and what games will be forgotten? About to find out. Thank you so much to Yurichi, who over on Kick just had a 2-month re-upping of their membership. Let me get that up on the leaderboard because re-uppings on Kick actually count for $5, so thank you for that. We're now up to $38 of support. Again, guys, it sure would be great to get some more support tonight for the best playthroughs of the year countdown. If possible, please support the stream. Okay. This is it. Are you humped? Are you humped? Are you hyped? Are you pumped? I combine those two words into humped. Well, I'm humped. I don't know about you, but I sure am humped for the top 3 best playthroughs of the year. So let's get over there, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, my number 3 best playthrough of 2024 is Elden Ring Shadow of the Ed Tree. Yes, that is correct. Another DLC made it into my Game of the Year countdown for a very good reason. This game was basically throwing everything at you if you liked Elden Ring, plus the kitchen sink. Like, I don't think they left anything out of this DLC. Crazy, over-the-top, amazing bosses, check. Improved visuals with awesome, colorful vistas, variety, and fun things to explore and check out, check. Insane amounts of new weapons, new play styles, and basically reimagining the way that the game can be played in various different ways, check. An incredible amount of content for the value that you're paying into it, absolutely. And a map that is deceptively large because it looks small. But when you start to explore it, you realize that there's layer upon layer upon layer in said map, and that there's all this hidden content that makes it actually much longer than it appears. Yeah, it's got all of that stuff. It really is that good of a DLC. As you can see, fighting with a giant mutated sunflower in this video. As I go through this mansion full of enemies, and I'm, wandering around and exploring, hammering the crap out of stuff. And as you can see, it performs very, very well on the PlayStation 5. I'm sure it probably runs even better on PS5 Pro, but I played it on the PS5 and I had a great time with it. In reality, I don't think I have many complaints. At first, I thought that it was going to be pretty short and not that good. But overall, as I played it more and more, I actually realized how lengthy it was. And I was actually quite pleased. The final boss, without spoiling, probably the boss that everyone would have really wanted anyway. Like, totally made sense that was the actual final boss of the game. And it was incredibly hard, but fair. That's another thing that I want to say about Elden Ring in general. Are there difficult parts? Yes. But I feel like there are pretty fair. The final boss was very, very difficult. The hardest of the entire series, I would say. Probably Melania took me a little bit longer to beat because I wasn't as good at the games when I first reached Melania. By the time that I had fought the final boss of this DLC, I had played the first game twice. So I had gotten a little bit better at it, and I feel like that's why I did as well as I did against him, changing my build. I'm intelligent enough to change my build on the fly and try different things and figure out exactly what's going to work against the final boss. As opposed to with Melania, I was just kind of going through the game once, doing jumping attacks and kind of fucking around and hoping for the best. So, yeah, okay. I have one complaint. Just one. Literally, I have one complaint about Shadows of the Erd Tree. Sadly, there were parts of the map that I thought were a little too empty. Like, for example, there's a centralized kind of like haunted, cursed woods, or it's like the Woods of Madness. There's just nothing really there besides one optional dungeon and a bunch of generic enemies. There's nothing else there. And I don't even understand why it's that empty. There's also 2 or 3 fingerprint areas where it looks like something amazing and giant will be there. And there's really not much there. There's just a couple items and that's it. What's funny is there actually is a final optional awesome boss related to the fingerprint areas, but it's not even on the fingerprint areas. Very confusing. But overall, really enjoyed it. Great DLC, high production value, top of the line, great stuff. Absolutely not disappointed whatsoever with this DLC. Take a look at me, running in circles here with double smashing. Well done. A great way to give a send-off to Elden Ring. And we thought that we were done until they announced Another Elden Ring game coming out this year that's not related to really the mainstream storyline, but instead this kind of what-if scenario, teaming up with other people and doing co-op combat and the like. That looks like it's going to be very interesting. But, man, I love Shadows of the Erdtree. Definitely one of my favorite playthroughs of the year. All right, now wait a minute. Hold on a second. If that's only number 3, then what the heck are the top 2? What could be the top 2? Well, you're about to find out because we're going to cover it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, my number 2 best playthrough of 2024. Get ready to poop your pants because, ladies and gentlemen, it is Metaphor Re Fantasio. Yes. And everyone's going to say, I can't believe he put this on his list. He had it on his other list. How could he have it on 2? How could he have it so high? How could he do it? I'll tell you why. Because the game, in the 12 hours of it that I played, was that good. And I feel like my playthrough was good, even though I had to cut it short because people stopped showing up for it. All right? Now, this is a topic that we had in the most disappointing playthroughs of the year countdown. Why was my Metaphor playthrough so disappointing? Because it ended at 12 hours. Why did it end at 12 hours? Because people stopped showing up, stopped watching, engaging, and supporting the playthrough. If I had played the entirety of Metaphor Re Fantasio, ladies and gentlemen, I'm of the opinion, I could be wrong because I didn't. I'm of the opinion this would have been my personal game of the year for 2024. I firmly believe that, 100%. But I was not allowed to play the whole game because I am running a business. This isn't just my personal hobby where I could just play what I want. I have to play things on stream that people are going to come by and watch and engage and support. Or else, why am I playing them on stream? I could just play them off stream for myself, right? And so I gave this 12 hours to get looked at and picked up and enjoyed by an audience that would come back and engage and support with it. And it didn't happen. I tried playing it once and again and again and again. And after 4 attempts, I finally threw in the towel. I was this close to finishing the demo and actually just continuing on with the main game. But there was just no way that I was going to be able to continue and take up stream time with this game. Now, some people in chat right now are saying, well, you could have played it offline. You're correct. But sadly, my lifestyle doesn't allow for that. I don't have hundreds of hours of free time outside of my streams to play video games. In fact, as I've told you, I prefer a work-life balance where since I play games all day on stream, I'm not playing video games all day, when I'm off stream. This is where all my video game-centric stuff is. You get it? So, sadly, because you guys didn't really like the game, or I should say, the majority of my viewers didn't like the game. It's not everyone. There was a group of people who liked it, but they just couldn't support enough to warrant the game coming back again and again and again. You know, when you have streams where, you only have 150 viewers and you're making $30, there's not much I can do about that. I can't keep doing it every night. Get it? I mean, again, I have to play what's smart. I have to play what's fair. I have to play what people want. Why else would I be streaming? I'm not streaming for myself. I'm streaming for you. Okay? So, even though this game was not played more than 12 hours, it was still my second most favorite playthrough of the year. I wish I could have kept playing. I wish I could have explored more. The story is great. The graphics are great. It feels like Persona, but in a fantasy universe with tons of improvements. It's great running on PC. The enemies are unique and interesting. The characters that aren't Personas, but are similar, are engaging and fun to level up and change around. It's just a great, great game. I really love it. I wish that I could have played it. I'm sad that I couldn't, and it sucks that I basically can't. I'm locked out of playing this game because I don't have enough free time to play it, and it didn't work on stream. So, Metaphor, My second favorite playthrough of the year. I thought that it was the second best. I legitimately did. And I actually think it would have been my favorite game of the year if I could have played it, but I couldn't. And that's just the sad fact, and that's the reality I live in, folks. Okay. So, that is it. That means there's only one game left. Okay, folks, this is it. The big finale. What is the best playthrough that I did in 2024? Are you ready? Need a drum roll? Here it comes. It is, I think everyone knew what it was. I mean, come on. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 Remake, folks. Probably it was a given. I think everyone kind of knew this from the start. That, first of all, I love survival horror. Okay, just to be honest. It's one of my favorite genres of game. And the Silent Hill franchise over the years has become one of my favorite franchises of survival horror. Keep in mind, I never played these games back in the day. I only played them as a YouTuber and experienced them for the first time with all of you as my live audience. This game does everything you want from a AAA level remake, okay? Improved graphics, improved soundtrack, story that's the original, but even expanded upon in certain ways that make it even better. Great gameplay that's been refined upon and expanded upon. Now it feels like a modern game rather than being stuck with old tank controls, locked camera angles. Instead, you get to actively play the game in a way that makes you feel more empowered. At the same time, the game's not overly easy. They've changed the challenge level and difficulty level of the game to make it feel tough, even though you have active control of your body, okay? Puzzles, completely redesigned from the ground up. Or some are identical. You don't know what the game is going to throw at you at any given moment because some things are the same and some things are dramatically different. Boss fights. Oh, Silent Hill 2 does not have a lot of bosses, but for the ones that they kept in there and they redesigned them to be so good. For example, I'm just going to say this. The abstract daddy boss is ridiculously good in this game. Over the top, way better than in the original. It blew me away how well done it was. Also, the final boss, way improved upon and much better in this game than it was in the original. I like that it still retains all of the options to have all these different endings. At the same time, it adds another ending or two, so there's something to aspire to. Even for those who are hardcore fans of the series, you could still get new content out of it, which is really awesome. I love both the real world and hell world gameplay. I think that it's cool that it changes completely the atmosphere of the game, yet retains the same kind of classic gameplay style from the original. Honestly, the best way that I can really explain this game of why I like it so much. So, do you remember many years ago we had Resident Evil 2 Remake? When Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, up until this point, when we heard the words remake, we thought, oh, that just means they're going to take the original game and they're just going to patch it to run at a higher resolution. Maybe they're going to add a little bit more detail to the graphics. Maybe they'll fix a bug or two that was in the original. Maybe a ability to save more often or save better, auto saves perhaps. And maybe just a tweak here or there. But for the most part, you would buy a remake, start to play it, and realize it's the same game. Resident Evil 2 Remake took the spirit of the original game and completely redesigned it and reimagined it as a modern gaming experience. It's definitely the same plot, the same characters, the same enemies, completely reimagined for a new modern audience, right? Silent Hill 2 Remake is exactly the same thing. Taking the classic Silent Hill 2 game and redesigning it and reimagining it for people who need more modernist things. I don't want to be hindered because I have to turn with tank controls and I can't see because the camera's stuck and I'm fumbling around in the dark. Instead, you want to be able to play and enjoy the game. And as you can see, with the improvements and refinements that they made to the engine, you absolutely are allowed to. Again, I like the fact that some of the puzzles are redone. So it's not feeling like if you just played Silent Hill 2 before you played this game, you could play this game and not feel bored. Because it feels like two completely different runs or playthroughs, a different game itself, instead of the same game twice. That's great. And I'm just going to say this. This is not a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil it. There was a plot device that was confirmed after the fact by the game devs that make it that this game directly ties into Silent Hill 2. And I don't mean that it's the same game and the same plot. I mean, actually, this game is actually the continuation of Silent Hill 2. That's all I'm going to say. And if you're like, what? What does he mean? I want you to play the game to find out. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say, play the game, and you're actually going to find out that this game is basically the sequel, the direct sequel to Silent Hill 2. Okay? It's not the same game. It's not a reimagining. It's literally the sequel. Now, if that doesn't get you to play it if you didn't yet, hopefully you'll go play it now because it's that good of a game. Or if you want to watch me play it, you can. My playthrough is live, but it's that good of a game. You should give it a look. So, the modern reimagining of Silent Hill 2 for a modern audience, great gameplay mechanics, amazing. And, you know, at the time, they said that Resident Evil 2 Remake was kind of the gold standard, the poster boy example of what a remake would be. I would argue this game is just in line, if not even better. You know what I mean? Like, I think it is. Like, all during the playthrough, people kept asking me, is this better than Resident Evil 2 Remake? I kept saying, it's at least as good. Now, you know, I definitely feel like it's just as good, if not better. So that's my feeling on it. And I hope that, again, if you haven't seen it or tried it yet, you will. It's an absolute great game. Don't skip it. Oh, it's Bluebird Team. Bluebird Team is great. Oh, but it didn't win many or any awards at the Game Awards. Who gives a crap about the Game Awards? Who cares about the Jeff Keighley Buddies Club? You stroke my dick, I stroke yours. Everyone's happy-go-lucky about what games they like. Everyone, we're going to conspire to vote for the game that's the feel-good game of the year instead of the game that's good. This game undoubtedly is one of the best games of 2024, no matter what a bunch of game journalists with agendas say. It really was that good of a game. Don't skip it. Don't miss it because the game journos didn't kiss its butt. It's really, really good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of my best playthroughs of 2024 countdown. A weird year, to say the least, right? 2024 was a year when it had, on paper, it had potential to be one of the best for various reasons. RPG overload, disappointing AAA game performances, etc. It ended up being one of the most disappointing years in recent memory, okay? If anything, what we saw this year was that independent games like Helldivers 2 or Balatro could stand up to the big AAA titans and actually get just as much attention, if not more. A year when a game that was just a platformer like Astrobot ended up actually being some kind of an absolute amazing experience when just last year, a game like Mario Wonder didn't really cut the mustard, right? You know, it's just a weird one. I really feel like moving forward, we may see a shift in the industry. Maybe not. Perhaps, just perhaps, we will see in 2025 the AAA gaming industry recover. Maybe we will actually start to see big, high-profile releases get notoriety again. I don't know. You know, I'm a little worried. In my 16 years as a content creator and a YouTuber, I haven't seen a year where a lot of the AAA games failed as badly as they did this year. You know, games that you thought on pay, oh my God, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to completely crush it. And then it underwhelmed and underperformed. That's shocking. So I'm curious how things are going to go moving forward. We'll see. Perhaps this year it's going to be more of the same. Maybe we'll see a recovery. I don't know. All I can tell you is, no matter what, I'm going to be here covering the games, having fun, having good times. Because that's the thing about the best playthroughs of 2024. It's not the best games. It's the best times we had together this year. And I would argue that these times were the best times overall that we hung out and had a great time with games on stream. So if you didn't see some of these playthroughs, I urge you to give them a look. It's going to be a great time. You're going to enjoy that gameplay. You're going to enjoy the interaction I had with the audience, no matter what the game was. They were all great experiences. So thank you all. 2024 was an amazing year for me and my content, a resurgence, positivity, great, great stuff. I mean, take a look at me now versus the beginning of 2024. So the sky's the limit at this point. Let's hope for the best in 2025. I look forward to hanging out with all of you to enjoy playthroughs, games, culture, and the like. I'm along for the ride with all of you. I hope that you'll come by on DSP Gaming and now, of course, on DSP Gaming Reel on Kick for my co-streams. Great stuff to come in the future, my friends, and I hope that you'll be along here with me. But for 2024, it's time to stick a fork in it. It was a year, that's for sure. It's time to move past it and to see if we got better stuff coming in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, for the top playthroughs, the best playthroughs of 2024, I'm DSP. I thank you for watching. I'll see you soon for something new. Have a good night. Peace out.